All right, perfect. So, if we could start with your name and date of birth.
The name is Elmo Espree, and the date of birth is 9/14/21.
Okay. And what branch of the military were you in?
I was in the Army and for transportation.
Okay. And what years did you serve?
I went into service in 1942 and came out in 1945.
Okay. And did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
Okay. And what rank did you attain?
I went up to Technician 5, and then I went back to private, and I went up to PFC, Private First Class. That's when I got out.
Okay. So we'll go back to your childhood. And where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana, but I was raised in Los Angeles. I came to Los Angeles with my family in 1923.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to my schooling here, and I got drafted from Los Angeles. And actually, I know everything, just about everything about Los Angeles, but I don't know anything about Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was 2 years old when I came here.
How many siblings do you have?
I'm the only one. I have no sisters and I have no brothers.
Only child. And do you remember what it was like growing up during the Great Depression?
Oh, definitely. During the Depression, naturally, I was a small kid, 9, 10 years old. The Depression started in 1929, 1930. My mother come and brought me over. Not my father. What happened to him? But he came later. And during the Depression, the black people lived in a certain section, and it was called East Los Angeles. And you could know just about everybody of your neighborhood at that particular time during the Depression. But the Depression was a type of thing that people really didn't want to get on welfare. They didn't care for welfare. Only time they got on welfare is when they had to get on welfare. We didn't have the type of thing that was selling apples. I don't know. I never seen anything selling apples here, but I've seen the people going to the county, which is the authorities for taking care of the people who did without jobs. And I can say nearly 90% of the black people who lived on the east side didn't have jobs at that particular time. And it was rough. I can remember working as a child, teenager, washing cars. And I think the cars were something like $1 a wash, and the owner would get 60%, and the person who was doing the washing of the car got the 40%. Mm-hmm. And then by you working with somebody on that 40%, he'll give you 10%. So it was pretty rough. And the thing about it is, people believed in working if they could work. It was like they thought welfare was something that you shouldn't be on. They didn't like that, and as soon as they could get a better job, they would get off the welfare.
Mm-hmm. Great. Who was one of your biggest influences growing up? Was there anybody?
Basically, the women in my family, mostly black families at that time, were the ones who was taking care of the children. And the biggest influence I can admit is my auntie. I can not my mom. My mom was nice, but what have you. But my auntie was kind of a go-go thing and entrepreneur and how to make a dollar and do it the honest way. And she in turn had moved into the area, the middle class later on in life, and I could see the things that she was doing from hard work. Property here, nice homes, rental stuff, and nice cars, nice furniture, nice everything. And I always said to myself, I'd like to remember the things she taught me, and it helped me along the way. But I have to admit that most of the females in my family were go-getters. I'm talking, when I say family, outside, I'm talking about cousins and what have you. I'm not talking about the... And they were type of people who were very independent, to the point that they were entrepreneurs.
Right. So you had you had cousins and
Yeah,
other
cousins.
family out here at the time as well.
They lived there, but they're all dead now because by me being the youngest one at the age of 95 coming up, so you can imagine. And they did not live a long life. Somehow or another, my father, he died at the age of 65, and my mother died at the age of 61.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where that longevity came in for me. It was very unusual, and my cousins, they were in the late 60s, I mean early 60s rather, and late 50s. So I don't believe that we had longevity in our family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm the only one.
God bless you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Now, can you speak a little bit about the state of the country during that time, some of the hardships that
Concerning black people?
concerning black people, concerning the economy?
Well, the thing of me, basically, I don't see too much changes from the time during the World War II, which is 1941. When the war started from the Japanese, a lot of people came to this particular state to get jobs, working for the aircraft and working for General Motors and Boeing and all those, because of the war jobs that they had. And my mother was included in it also. Before I didn't know my wife, but she also, so she worked with the defense. So it made a change at that particular time that they were getting jobs, working for the government. But it was temporary. So after the war, hey, they cut them jobs to the bone. And naturally, the black people went back to what they were doing before. And out here, basically, the professional people were very limited when it comes to the black people, because like doctors, lawyers, accountants, and what have you. Most of the black people here were maids and butlers and for Hollywood people, and also they were in the post office, which was a good job at that particular time. It's still a good job, and that's where I went later on in life, going to the post office. But prior to that, the economy was still low amongst the blacks. Mm-hmm. They had a few that lived up on a hill and what have you, but it wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't the majority. Because when I speak usually of the majority of what the blacks did, not what the minority. Here also, they had the covenant was very heavy. The covenant was couldn't go into places, or you couldn't buy like you should, like everybody else, which is Caucasian. But because the covenant, they were saying don't sell to black people. That was, and where was the cutoff line? Was right here at Main Street. Main Street runs north and south, which is the same today. And we lived, which would say we, black people, lived east of Main Street, of West Street of Maine. They had a few blacks over there, but over in that particular section, east and west, where Caucasians were living, they had the covenant going until 1965, and then they started making some changes. But it was, everybody figured that everything happens down south. Not so. When the Southerners got the jobs out here during World War II, they were here to get, they were poor back there where they come. So when they come to California in 41 and 42 and 43, they start going to Orange County, went to San Bernardino County, Riverside County, lived in LA County too, and they kind of did their own way of how living there, which was very prejudiced. And the thing about it is that they brought a lot of ideas with them until the government starts saying that you can't do this and you can't do that, and civil rights things all come up with that. But the thing about it is, when you think about discrimination, you think basically in the South, the southern states, like in Kentucky, Louisiana, Georgia, I can name it, the 14 of them. But we had it right here in this state here. And when I went into the service, 1942, it was segregated then. It was not mixed. Only thing about that they had with Caucasian officers, we had that, but other than that, we went with the troops, the white troops and the black troops. And we went up here to, when I first went into San Francisco, which was, I was so happy I could go, and from Oakland, and guys were going down and sitting on down south, and boy, they were catching HELL, black guys down there, even some lynchings and what have you, and pulling shades down and what have you, throwing rocks at them when they were trained. This really happened. This is real. And but when I got up to Camp Stoneman was the first camp that I went to, and that was in Pittsburgh, California. You know where Pittsburgh, California is?
No.
Pittsburgh, California is about 34 miles north of San Francisco.
Okay.
So in that area up there. And when the black troops come into that camp up there, they put us way at the back part of the camp. I mean, it's a huge camp, and we could only go there to show on the campus one day a week, and the Caucasian guys were going 6 days a week, and we couldn't understand it. So I was one of the kind of activists, and I said, this is not right. So they finally got rid of that. So that's one of the things that happened at that particular camp. And then at Pittsburgh, California, we had a little break there. It's right down from the camp that we were in, Camp Stoneman. And I can remember they had on one side of the avenue in Pittsburgh, California, which is a little small town, blacks were, and on the other side was Caucasian. They let us mix on it, and I never did go back there. So those encounters I had up there in Pittsburgh, California.
Okay.
Until we went overseas, and we got ready to go overseas, we didn't know where we were going, but we went to Camp Anza, and down Anza, from Anza, then we went to San Pedro. From San Pedro, we caught the ship.
Okay. Now, rewinding a little bit back to your childhood, what were some of your favorite things that you used to do for
well, the thing, you didn't have a whole lot of choices at that particular time by being poor. Not to the point that you starve or anything of that sort. We like baseball, football, naturally, and a lot of things that we just made up our own games because just didn't have the money to buy the balls and what have you.
Yeah.
And didn't do nothing like the ice skating, nothing like that. We didn't went into that. But we did the roller skating and worked out pretty good. Shrine Auditorium, we used to go down there. Swimming, yes, we had that. And somehow or another at our high schools and what have you, and junior high school, black guys was always the runners. They were top runners. They were good and what have you. But the academics part was always low because the schools they were going to was really first-class schools. And that was Jefferson High School. Basically, that's where most of the blacks went. And I went there also, and I graduated from there.
Were the schools segregated?
No, the school was not segregated. More was a de facto segregation here in the state of California. Demure, no. The law, they didn't have the laws that says like down south, this is what you go in. We didn't have that here. We had what the de facto get. You put your own laws and your own section, and you weave it in the way you want it to be. And that's what a lot of the Southerners did out here in Orange County. And Orange County was one of the most, I can remember so well, when I was 13 and 14 years old. And last, going to Inglewood. Inglewood was white on white in white. And after 5 p.m., and you had to get out of there if you're black. Compton was the same way. Compton was 9/10 were white people in there. And a few black people lived in there. At 5 o'clock, and you had to leave there. Downey, Southgate, Belfort. All those the type of little small towns when they had their own way of living, and they brought that with them basically from the South. So when I moved into the post office later year when I got into the service, I was the truck driver. I was driving truck around and for the postal. And then I started moving up. I got to be an examiner, and I got to be an instructor, and I got to go middle management stuff. And I was teaching out to these different classes out there in these little towns like Southgate, Bell, Downhill, Maywood, and white people, black people didn't live in those places. We were talking about 1958, 59, 60, 61 at that time. The thing about it is that I didn't let it bother me, though. I didn't let it bother me. I said, hey, man, I just keep on stepping. And like I said, it worked out pretty good for me. But I've been through some heavy stuff, down through in the Army stuff and the Red Cross and stuff like that. And it's amazing, just amazing.
Okay. I'd like to get to that, too. What year did you graduate high school?
I started in 1940.
Okay. So, and then you were drafted a year later?
I was drafted 2 years later.
2 years later.
42.
Okay.
I see, because the draft started for the age of 21 to 35.
Okay.
So I turned 21 in 1942. My birthday was in September, and I got drafted in November the 27th, 1942. I was trying to get a deal that I had to take care of my mom, and they said, no, you got to go, so I had to go.
Okay. And you remember where you were when Pearl Harbor occurred? And
when Pearl Harbor said, basically that's 1941, and I was working with the Southern Pacific Railroad, washing cars over there at that particular time. And when that came across, it was on a Sunday, although I was working on a Sunday. And that disaster just changed everything around. It was chaos everywhere. And that's one of the biggest things that ever happened in my life. And naturally, 9/11, it was two of the biggest things that happened in my life.
Do you remember the sentiment in the country at that time? I mean, it seems like...
Well, at that particular time, everybody was for the war thing. Because they had attacked Pearl Harbor, and that was part of the United States. The thing about it is that it was, we worked together when they did. Everybody had something to do, and then the thing about it, that if you didn't have this or rations or that, nobody complained. It kept on going, and it was a go-go thing. And one thing I can say about the United States, of all their problems, they give you the supplies, man. They give you what you need, and we got a lot of that. And but the segregation thing prevailed. It was there. And by the age of 21 years old, man, I'm looking at all this dumb stuff. What is this all about? You know? And the thing about it is, I was always asking the question, why? And I got in trouble about that. Why? That's why I said I was Tech 5 once in, and then all of a sudden I was private, because I took a little detour at that time, and was going up to Himalayan, through the Himalayas mountains, and taking all these supplies up to China. See, in other words, we worked with China, and the Chinese were fighting the Japanese at the particular time, as we were also, and we were allied. And at that time, they needed supplies. I'm talking about the Chinese, and we Americans did the supply. And our destination was from going through India, from Burma into China, Kunming, China was where all the action was going on. First, the Japanese were down there in Burma, and they had controlled all that area up in there. And then as the Americans started working with the Chinese, started moving them back. So actually, coming into China, going into China, we went in through the back door, which just happened to be India, and that is where we were bringing in all those supplies, and we were working with the Chinese government, army.
Okay. And after you were drafted, how long was it until you were shipped off to boot camp and started your basic training and all that?
Well, it didn't take no more than 6 months, man. They give you training for about 6 months, and learning all this heavy equipment that we were using and have you, and we were taking guys to the port of embarkation, going overseas, all different parts of the world, and all of a sudden they said, "You guys ready to go?" So they shipped us. We were the next guys going, and we went there. Something like 10,000 men on one ship. I can remember the ship so well. The ship was named the George Washington, right here at San Pedro. And the thing about it is that I couldn't understand why the black guys were getting on the ship first. Mm-hmm. And I said, I wonder why we're getting on the ship first. I know why. We went below the waterline. Below the waterline as you keep going on the ship. Well, the air conditioning is worse down the lower you go into the ship. And we were packed in like sardines, just like this. This how and the air conditioning just work as good as the upper part of the ship. And I asked the question, that why again? And the first thing I was doing KP, kitchen pulleys, cleaning pots and pans, and I'm like 22 years old, man. I'm like, what is all this craziness about? Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about it is that once we left here, and the first place we went to is Australia. When we got to Australia there, we were just getting supplies and what have you, keep going where we had to go, which we didn't know where we were going. Mm-hmm. So the mayor guy came over there and he said, hey, you guys are going to be here. The ship's going to be here. He's about 3 or 4 days of supplying, and you guys got the city of Hobart, so you got the whole the bars, everything. Just come on, because most of all the Australian guys were already in the service. They took just about everybody. They said male, man. They went into the service so we did. And the funny thing about it is the black guys on the ship had this band, and we were marching, and it was raining like a dog. Oh, it rained heavy. And as we were marching, the white guys march like this, up straight, up and down. The black guys, they go with the sway. They go like this. And the band is playing, and by being tall, they put us to the front. Shutter guys go to the back, as it's taped down. And when those Australian ladies saw these black guys, man, they were just cracking up. They were rubbing us, feeling us, and what have you. We're still marching. It's raining like a dog. Mm-hmm. But the captain is a white guy, and he's the southern guy. He made us take a U-turn right back to the ship. And boy, we were so angry. Why would you treat it? And all the rest of the white guys, they went to the town when we did the U-turn. And we got upset behind that. And I asked another why again. I kept doing the whys, and whys was always get me in trouble. And what they did, the United States Army was very slick on how they handled it. Well, they had the Southern guys would cooperate real easy. They were easy to get along with because they were used to all that Southern mess.
Sure.
I was out here in California, and I couldn't understand some of that stuff that they were putting on, and I would question it. You don't question the Army. The Army says, hey, we take your mind. We do the thinking. You don't use that at all. And here I wanted to use mine, and I want to know why. And they broke me. It took a little time, but they got to me. But I didn't go to the guardhouse. I didn't get no dishonorable discharge, none of stuff like that. I was right on the edge, though. I stayed on the edge all the time. And this guy from Pasadena was my sergeant, and he, black guy, naturally. And he says, you know, Espree's 21, 22 years old. He asked a lot of questions. Army said, well, we don't play that here, okay. And he don't. And one thing I did learn about the Army, it was the discipline. They gave me that. Oh, yeah, they gave me that. I learned that. And being on time, I got that. There's a lot of good stuff they gave me, and a lot of dumb stuff they put on me. So I said I took the good stuff and worked with it, and it worked out fine for me. But it turned how I started, I'll show you later on these medals and all the stuff I got. How that happened, I was kind of more of a loner in the service. I didn't socialize too well with the guys. One guy liked me. He thought he was a nice guy, but 9/10 of them didn't like me at all. I was too arrogant for one day, and I was supposed to be a little bit intelligent, and at least I thought I was, and I believe I am. And hey, it didn't work too well with a lot of guys from the South, because I used to say, man, I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, what are you guys talking to? How do you talk about these do's and don'ts? I don't know about that. And a lot of we were very prejudiced amongst ourselves, black guys. And how that happened is, first of all, we always say, where you from? It's the first place we say when to get together. And I said, I'm from New York. Guy from New York, number one. Always New York guys say, that's a city. We always said, that's the Big Apple. Because we hear about it, we read about it, and it was the newspapers and the movies and all that. So the guys who are from New York are the guys who we respected more than anybody else. Who was second? Second guy, Chicago, from the Windy City. You from the Windy City? Yeah, I'm from the. Oh yeah, because we heard a lot. You the Windy City. You hip. You got everything going. Third person was San Francisco. You from San Francisco? Yeah, I'm saying. So they took the number 4 spot. Number 5 was Los Angeles. So when all the guys from Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina said, hey man, we didn't speak to you guys. You don't talk our language. And like I say again, we used to say about the North Carolina and South Carolina. I said, man, what are you guys saying? We call them saltwater geese. They had a thick tongue, and they couldn't pronounce K's and what have you. And we said, what kind of language you guys come from? Where you come? These old black guys. And then we had the guys from Boston and the New England states. They really are. They sound like the Kennedys, what have you. And we kind of office show. They was like, hey, we don't deal with too much with black people because they were guys that looked like Puerto Ricans and what have you. Yeah. But they put them in the black army. So we were segregated to that particular point of those different things. So the thing about it is, and we used to meet up when I was in Calcutta. I can already remember that incident that happened. What you call had a little leave they give us from the jungle thing, like the Vietnam thing was. And I went there with one of my friends, and there was this South African. The South African was a white South African, and there was a black South African, and they were buddies. They were together, and they were at a restaurant. I remember this restaurant. We were nice little small restaurant, and everybody was there, and they had some American sailors, and they were half drunk. Americans, they're always boisterous, they're always loud, and they always figure they can do anything that they want to do. This was the white boy. And then they had a British guy there. Well, the South African, the white South African, was sitting at the same table with the white guys, the Americans. And the house was nothing. And the black South African was sitting at the table also. And they got in an argument about who's the greatest, you know. This guy's in 21, 22, 23 years old. And the black South African went over and walked over to me. He says, "You American, right?" I said, "Yes." This guy's like 6'4", 235 pounds with no fat at all on him. He said, "You know, that's my comrade, the white South African. And if we hit in anything with these Americans, I'm going to help you." "And you American, right?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "God, man," I said, "Oh, I don't," because I was going to help the white guys if we got in the fight. And I said, "Oh man, I don't want to fight this guy. This guy's too big." So there were little Indians, because this is Indian in Calcutta. He took one Indian like this and raised him up like this, and took another Indian like this and raised them both up and threw them out the door. My eyes, they popped out of my head. I said, "Oh man." So I went to the white guy. I said, "Man, you got to be cool." This is what. So we didn't happen. So I was so happy at it because I didn't want to. But I was going to help the white guy because he's American like I am. So that was one of the incidents that happened. And I was with a group of young guys. One was young Chinese, New Zealander, Australian, British, and Canadian. We were all sitting at the table. I remember that well. So when we started just talking about different things, you know, life, what I like. And the British guy said, "Yeah, and you darkies." I looked at him. "Darkies? You darkies?" What are you talking about me? Because I was the only black guy there. I said, "Look, that's a detour. Detour. We don't use that type of word." He said, that was the white guy told me, the white American, that's what he said to call you guys. I said, "Well, what's wrong?" So we got a little upset about that, but everything worked out fine. He said, "Well, you know," he said, "you guys got tails and all that kind of crazy stuff." They had all kind of crazy stuff going. But that was cool. And I said, "Well, let me tell you," I'll bring it up, and straighten things up. And it worked out pretty good. But the leader came with him. I was going up to the front. There would look like 1,000 Chinese going to the front. They were walking, wrap leggings, going just like the terrain was like I was in Vietnam type of stuff. And they all lined up, just line by line, just keep going, walking. And they take mules up. They don't take horses up, because mules can carry 3 times as much as the horse is strong, and they're very strong. And he's here to get these mules going up to the front. And I'm in the convoy, and it's just enough to put a truck through, and one soldier is walking through. As we're going to cross this bridge, I looked at this long line, and I said, "Hey, I'm not going to wait for all these doggone Chinese to get through before I go across that bridge." So I knew 2 words in Chinese, and they worked out pretty good for me. One was "ding hao." Ding hao means good. If you say, "Hey, ding hao," it's good. And bo hao means bad. So he told me, he threw his hands at the Chinese guy, and he said, "Bo hao." In other words, don't go. You got to wait till all the troops go through. And I looked back there, and I said, "No, I'm not going to wait for all the damn troops to go across this bridge." And we had the combat trucks, they had the canvas tops, just like you have a canvas car here. Yeah. And we dropped the tops on them. Windshield, we dropped that right on the hood also. And then we had the cargo in the back of us. So I said, no. So I started to move up. And the guy took his rifle and did one of these things, just about to click it up. And here come a Caucasian guy with the Chinese group and had a riding crop in his hand.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm here to fix your plumbing.
Okay, thank you. My plumber.
All right.
And in turn, He came up from nowhere on this horse, because he was with the Chinese group, and had a riding crop in his hand, and hit him right across the eyes, and knocked the rifle out of his hand, saved my life. He did not say one word to me. He just looked at me and kept on going. But he saw the action was going down. And I never got a chance to ever knew who he was, to thank him for saving my life or anything. And that was one of the incidents that happened. And I was grateful for that, because I'm still alive.
Yeah.
But that happened. So what happened also, once I got back here, the Chinese government and the American government here gave me a medal for going up to the front with taking stuff over into China. And that happened just about a year ago.
Just recently.
I had the picture I recall. And I got the stuff right here. I got the medal that they gave me.
Okay.
With the ribbon on it to put on, what have you. And I was in one bomb, and I was in Calcutta when the Japanese came through with the Zeros. Shot up the whole place. Guys dying like flies. I just happened to hit one of them holes. And the Spitfire, the British came in there and was fighting the Zeros up there, and one thing I can say, they're good. I would say them Japanese, they're good too. Only thing about the Japanese planes, you just touch them and they fall apart. So they can maneuver, and they were very light. The maneuvers, they were just doing all this kind of crazy stuff. And I was lucky enough I didn't get hurt. But the funny thing was, I think about all those bodies flying all over. This was a civilian city. And the thing about, they did not let any of the Indians go into the U.S. hospital or the British hospital. Only Americans and British went to the hospital. And here were dead bodies, heads off, their arms, and what have you. And I'm like, man, they live in this their country, and they can't even come into the hospital there. And there's a lot of things I didn't understand when I went over. See, I went over when the famine, they had the famine on. It was 10 or 15,000 people died in the streets just like flies. And they told us, see, if you see a dead body, just kick him aside and keep on going. That's what Americans told us. And I went to AWL for once. That's where I went, that deduction in. What happened? By me being such a rebel, to the point, they sent me up to the front with the supplies. And flies back over the Himalayan mountains, because we leave all that stuff over in China. So I kept saying to the sergeant, I said, Sergeant, you sent me up there too much. He said, look, you follow what we're saying. We'll tell you what to do, you do it. And shut your mouth. Well, how did they find out that I went up there so many times? A little company clerk with the outfit checked the records out. They said, here's Espree. She's been up there 13 times. Well, prior to that, I figured they were trying to get rid of me. Because I was kind of a little rebel. So I was going up from closer to the front, where the action really was. And there was some white boys up there, and they were with intelligence. And they were checking out to see what the Japanese were doing and where the Japanese were and where they were stationed. And gave the information back to the headquarters. So they saw me up there and they said, what are you doing way up here, where we are? I said, well, I took a little vacation. Because I took a little detour at the middle of the night in this convoy. It was like 500 trucks going up to the front, just chugging through all night long. So I knew some of the things they taught me, that to survive, you have to be by running water. You know your direction by the North Star. You eat only the things that monkeys eat, because they know from the poisonous stuff. These are the survival things, because man, when you're out in that jungle, everything looks the same, lights here and what have you. And you build yourself around the fire. And then you get in your mosquito nets and what have you. So naturally, they made the call back, and He came up there and picked me up. And this southern captain, he said, you know, where did you go that you weren't with the convoy? I said, what do you think I went? You think I went back to the United States? Being smart, Ellie. He didn't like that. Put you in the guardhouse. You think you're smart. And my first sergeant said, he's a good guy. He's a good man. I said, but he's young and what have you, so give him a break. And they gave me a break. But they sent me back up again. And this little company Kirk had found out we got that all this information on me. And they gave me the paperwork on it. But they didn't give me the medals. And I kept the paperwork. When I got out of the service, 25, 30 years later, my wife and I, we started writing letters when I got the medal. In a manila envelope. So I've been through it. And the thing about it is that everything I did well. I did real good, but then I was a little rebel too. But those are things that went down. Go ahead.
And where were you stationed? Over, you said in India?
India.
Was it in
Assam, India.
Assam?
ASSAM. It was called Bangladesh now. Bangladesh is a country of its own. At that particular time, it was all India. Pakistan was all India at that particular time. All this after 1946. That's when all those little tribes decided, hey, we want to own our going our own. And Karachi, India, which is in Pakistan now. That's where I lived through there. And I smiled to myself because I remember when all this was India. And now it's split all up.
And how long you were driving supplies to China? What were you actually transporting, and how long was
going from India into China? We were transporting everything that American soldier need and the Chinese soldier need. What you call gun, ammunition, food, you name it, all supplies. It's just like a Kmart. Because everything. See, what happened is this is how it goes. This is the enemy here. This is our troops coming in to fight here. And this behind here is the supplies. We supply him, and then he goes into the wet action. But getting to him, all of them got pops or these guys were snipers. And this is where this long deal coming and winds up to this one road, cutting the road, construction, all this is forest, all this dense. This is just like in Vietnam. Cutting, trying to get to these guys. And malaria, you name it, all kinds of different diseases, easy to catch it with the Americans and no doctors didn't know anything about. Parachute lasts 3 months. Mildew inside. You had to take talcum powder and put it in there. They gave you some brand new shoes again. So the weather, monsoons, we're talking about nearly 2 months of rain, nothing but mud. Treacherous. Animals, you name them. All this stuff is combined that you have to go through.
Would it be okay if I shut the door just for the noise?
Definitely.
Okay.
I can eat both, man. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. You said how long would it take you to actually reach the?
Well, actually, it took us something like when we first started, 5 days, 6 days to get in the area to China, or maybe sometime longer. Is how the construction guys would cut that road with these big tractors, and they're doing it all night long with these big fire tower that they would see by trying to see by cutting this foliage back, and way up on top of hills and mountains, and man, it's like wow, look at these guys are doing it. And then when you come back home, the funny thing about it, I couldn't get a job for transportation. I come back to LA. I saw in the paper it says that we're not, truck drivers were not hiring. I just got out there. I said, we're not hiring. I said, hey, I look at the sign out there. It says you're hiring. I said, well, the union won't let you in. We couldn't get in the union, the black guys. So I couldn't get the job. So I said, okay. So the next person, I went to the transfer line, and I was one of the first 13 black guys to drive buses and streetcars here in LA. I stayed with them 10 years. And just went to 100 Park. You can understand a black guy sitting up there driving a streetcar, whatever, buses, whatever. So I was cool, and it didn't bother me. Then I finally said, well, I'll get with the federal government. And I got with the government, I got with the post office. And from then on, it was like, folks started moving up. Including on a stamp. My wife and I on an American stamp right now. We're back there.
Yeah?
You'll see it when I show it to you. So these are the things that happen. It's been a rough road, but it's been to the point that after then I always had a job, After I got away from that first out of the post office, out of the Army. But what can I say, man? And I had my health and strength is over everything, over money. It's not about the materialistic things. It's the health. So we are.
Now, what was day-to-day life like in the Army? Your meals. What did you have to eat? What was?
Well, the meals that we had to eat were good. In the United States, not overseas. When you in the United States, they give you sheets, they give you mattress, they give you. Okay, but then you get ready for overseas, you start snatching things from them, taking things from them. Finally, man, you're sleeping on the ground, you're doing the real tough parts of it. But other than that, the food was good. But to me, that wasn't important to me. Food wasn't important to me. It's never have been important. I eat it. I like it. But I think about, because see, I'm more of a black activist. I was always, what kind of jobs black people going to have? What are their families doing? How are they going to survive? Those are the issues that I talk about all the time. Those are the issues that I go to some of these universities and I talk to these professors about. And I've had guys from Irvine, UCLA, USC, all this printed. I got letters to that effect. And my kids, grandchildren, they're all college guys. Every one of them, including this one. He's the only one that haven't got the degree. The other one got 3 different degrees. One got 4 degrees. One's back at NYU right now. She is. And so that was the thing that is paramount in my mind all the time. What can you do to help young black people, especially young black men? And the thing about it, by living out here in LA all these years, I can see all the changes with most people who in the 90s have been dead, man. They don't know. And then if they are here, they got Alzheimer's. So they're shaking all over. They don't know where they're going from up or down. And all my relatives, they've been gone. And the thing about it is, so 9/10 of the people that I deal with are young people, like you, and like my grandson. And he's 30 coming up in November.
Oh, me
And
too. Me too.
You're 30? Okay.
In November, yeah.
He's in November.
I'm the 11th.
He's 16.
All right.
So these are the things that I try to instill in my family. My daughter's a school teacher out there. She just got her credentials no more than about 3 months ago. She went back to school and graduated 3 years at Phoenix instead of the 4 years, and B plus. And she was working with children who are a little slow in learning. She wants to be, now she's going to be a full-fledged teacher. So these are the things that I'll show you all the stuff we got back here. But these, and I always said this, you can talk this stuff, but can you show it to me? Where's the documentation on this stuff? See, my stuff's all documented. And I come across most intellects is, first thing he asked me, what university did you go to? I said, didn't go. I said, oh, I said, yeah, when I got in there, war came about, I got drafted. But I used it as an excuse. But when I went to get with the government, federal government, man, they sent me to school. I had to go here, I got to go there, I've been back to Bethesda, I've been back to Oklahoma, I've been all these different places they were sending me because they figured I had something going. And it worked out pretty good for me. So other than that, what can I say?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, was there any moment or incidents while you were overseas that you felt like you might not make it back, or that you were?
Well, I always had the positive thinking that I would come back. But I had one incident that I never forget is the Red Cross. My friend and I, he's from Oakland, so he's got the liberal thing going with him, black guy. And we said, well, let's go to the city in Calcutta and see what's going on, because we had a little leave, about 3 or 4 days. And I saw the sign that said, there's the Red Cross. Let's go to Red Cross up there and see what they're doing. Well, before we went upstairs where the Red Cross was, there's a big sign downstairs, welcome all armed forces, Army, Navy, South, the whole bit. Come on up. We went up. As soon as we got to the top stairs, this Red Cross lady, young Red Cross lady, said, she looked at me and looked like she was frightened. She says, you guys can come in here. So I'm looking behind her, and I'm looking at the Caucasian soldiers and the Anglo-Saxon Indian girls, which are light-skinned because they're British and part of India. They weren't the dark-skinned one. The dark-skinned one, like me, black-skinned, they were Hindus. No Hindus up there. Those are Anglo-Saxons up there. What have you. So I said, you see this uniform? It's an American uniform. So she takes back and runs back and go get the major. The major comes back. And he looks at me. And he says, what's the problem? I said, no problem. She said, well, you guys can't come in this Red Cross. I said, what do you mean? You're a Red Cross. I don't have no Red Cross. You're talking about the black Red Cross. I said, this is Red Cross. I said, you know, I came 12,000 miles over here to fight the Japanese in this uniform. And you tell me I can't come in here. So he said, soldier, where are you from? I said, I'm from Los Angeles. He said, well, I'm from New York, and I know how you feel. I said, don't you dare tell me how you feel. I remember. Don't you dare tell me how I feel. I'm 24 years old, and you tell me I can't come in. My friend said, no, he's wrong. He said, well, we don't set the law, you know. I said, this is not the United States. This happened to be India we're in now. See, I'm sorry. So we left. But we did go down to the Black Red Cross. Went down to the Black Red Cross. That's where the Hindus were, and the girls. And they had the big bands there. The guys were in the big band, got drafted, Count Basie, Duke Ells and whatever. And those guys were playing like crazy. And it was a wonderful, wonderful lot of music there. And it was, I really did enjoy it. So my friend said, "You like it?" I said, "Oh yeah, I like it," but I just didn't like the idea that I couldn't go into the other place. And so when we got back to the company, the commander heard about it. He called me over and said, "You know, you trying to start something?" I said, "I ain't trying to start anything. I'm just not understanding some of the stuff that's going down."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take those 2 stripes from you." And I did the thing about whatever. Yeah, whatever, do what you got to do. And they did it. Then later on, they gave me one of them back. So that's how and then when I took that AWOL trip for a little while, something like 7 or 8 days. And other than that, then they found out that everything I did, I did well. We had to build our own tents and stuff and put it all together to living up in them jungles and what have you. So I got innovated, and my friends also, was 4 of us in a tent. And I said, you know, man, we need this tent, we need to cover the top of it, the inside, and we'll take a parachute, and these silk parachutes, they were blue, and we sewed that on the top, so the ceiling was all blue. And we took, I said, hey, you got dirt floors here. Let's put a flooring in it. And we put a flooring in there. Got some 2x4s and what have you, and built to the floor. And each one had, and it was out of sight when we got through. And then we also digged a hole right in the middle. And in there we made an ice box out of it and lined it with straw and what have you. So when we want to put some of our food in there, and had a top that you just flip open. Made a closet for each one of our uniforms. So when they had inspection coming through every month, every week, every set, I remember it so well. They'd come by about 4 or 5 officers. All of them were white except the first captain. Not the first captain. The first sergeant. He was black. So they said, "Man, look at this. This is really something." The other guys had the regular tents, and that was it. Mm-hmm. So one of the officers said to me, he says, "Would you build us a tent like this?" I said, "No." It shocked him. Had me on duty again. I said, "No, we're going to do it. I'm going to do this for you." I got in trouble again. But other than that, those are some of the encounters I had. And they didn't understand.
And how many trips? You were on the Burma Road?
13.
13.
13. I had paperwork on them.
That's
13 trips going up to the front.
More than normal.
More than normal, that's right. That's how it come up. That's how I got the medal. And then I was in 2 campaigns. Mm-hmm. The campaign is when you are part of something on a drive going to the enemy. And they give you a star for it. So I got 2 stars. I got that up there now. And when they looked at the records, they were amazed. They're like, "Wow, look at the thing this guy did." And I didn't even know. And this company clerk had kept all that stuff. And somehow or another, the papers had turned yellow. I came home, and I had married 10 years afterwards. And my wife was thumbing through stuff that I had. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Well, where's the medals on this stuff?" I said, "They didn't give it to me." I said, "I got this paperwork in the field." But I kept it. So when we got ready to do the writing to congressmen and different, well, I had letters off of that. Mm-hmm. And they would say, well, in St. Louis, Missouri, that's where the headquarters were. They were keeping a lot of the stuff. It had a fire there. It was a fire there. So I don't know what year it was. And a lot of the stuff burned up. Mm-hmm. So my wife wrote a letter and said, "Hey, we got the original that they gave him when he had it in the field." Mm-hmm. So when he went back, I got this stuff in the envelope, and that's how I got it back.
That's great.
And so when my wife had saw that these had the paperwork but no medal, she said, "Well, where are the medals?" I said, "Well, I didn't follow it up. I just said, oh." So what I did when I started out of the service, I started checking World War II veterans, black guys. I said, "Do you have any medals?" They said, "No." I said, "You got any paperwork on there?" I said, "If you have, I'll process it for you and help you get it." Mm-hmm. Sure enough, 5 guys got the medals. And one of them was Tuskegee Airman.
Okay.
Got a document. So these are the things that I would do, and that's the things I'm doing now.
And what medals were you
You
awarded?
only see them up there. I don't even remember the names
No?
of them, man.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the campaign, for the campaign I had, the Asiatic campaign had one.
Mm-hmm.
I had one for good conduct, and I had another one for, they up there. And they put my name on the back of it. So we had it all put into it. I never wore them. We put them in a frame,
Mm-hmm.
and they're sitting up there now,
Okay.
right now, and I'll show you that when we leave here.
Okay. Um, now, do you remember towards the end of the war when the A bomb had been dropped? Do you remember
Yes.
where you were?
Yes. I was in China at the particular time, and President Truman made the announcement that Roosevelt had died, and he took over. And we were in China, and all of us were standing around this mobile unit. This mobile unit had all this radio equipment in it.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, we got the information from Washington, D.C. that the bomb was being dropped. I was one of the very few people who would speak about the bomb. And I said, I thought it was horrible that he did that. I said, because they dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Those were civilian, like kids, old people, women, and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of them. And so I said, Uncle Sam had the Japanese on their knees. They were getting ready to resign. I mean, give it up, you know. And they said, well, it saved a lot of lives. I said, but those are innocent people.
Yeah.
And so when I did a couple of speeches, and they asked me about that, seemed like you did. And I told myself, well, my feeling was that the Americans already just about won the war. They had 99.9 and 1/10 of 1% that just signed it. But they wanted to show the rest of the world that, hey, we are tops. We're number one. You mess up, we'll put that bomb on you. And that's what they did. Yeah. And then again, I was out there at San Pedro, or the fort out there, and they got a museum out there, old World War II stuff and all that. And I took my family out there. This happened more than a year ago. And the corridor was out there at the museum. And I saw all these pictures of them. I saw all these Caucasian guys of World War II right there at the fort. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, hey, come on, come to you. I said, I look at all these pictures around here. I said, I don't see no black people at all in here. Oh, really? He said, well, I said, I come through here. I don't see me and nobody like me in there on this wall. But all this equipment that you got here, yes, this is the type of equipment we had. It was top of the line. So he said, well, we had a group come through here, but they weren't in I said, they weren't in the Army. They had nothing to do with the U.S. Army. And I didn't understand that. This just happened about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. He wrote me a letter. I wrote him a letter. And all that type of thing. And I had questioned that. I still question about it. And I was invited out to Blair High School. That's where my daughter teaches out there in Pasadena. Mm-hmm. They got a cadet school out there, officer training school. Young kids, high school kids. And they asked me would I come out to speak. I said, yeah, I'll come out. And when I got out there, it was all mixed. They had one black guy in there, a kid, and he was just smiling. And the sergeant, he was top sergeant, he was Caucasian, and the second sergeant, he was a black guy. And the rest of them were mostly Latinos there, girls and boys. Mm-hmm. So I told them how I started out. I said, now, I'm not going to sit up here and talk to you guys about World War II. Tell me what you want, that you want to know about World War II. And I'll give you an answer for it to the best of my ability, okay? So, the little Japanese kid, said, what do you think about the bomb that the Americans dropped on America, like you had? I gave him to him how I felt about it. Mm-hmm. There was the Chinese boy. He called me, he said, you said you had fought with the Chinese. I said, yes. He said, how did they treat you? I said, they treat me fine. I said, they kind of mean, but they treat me fine. And one girl, little girl, she asked, these are all teenagers, cadets. And she said, did you meet Hitler? I said, no, I didn't meet Hitler. I said, Hitler was in the European campaign. I was in the Asiatic campaign, but most people don't know anything about it. They knew about the Asiatic part about the islands, what the Japanese were, and they know about Pearl Harbor, and they know about Hitler in Berlin and what have you. But they don't know how the Americans were fighting with the Chinese against the Japanese. And that's where I came in at. And I said, no, I didn't meet him. I didn't see him. He said, did you ever kill anybody? I said, no, I didn't kill anybody. I usually brought the supplies up and going up to the front line and what have you. So they gave me some good questions and what have you. But I said, so I kept them interested to the point that they were asking me the questions instead of me telling them what I was like.
No, it's very true that you mentioned that not a lot of people know about the Asiatic campaign, and the schools don't touch on that.
No, they.
And I'm just learning.
Yeah, sure. See, the thing about it is that particular theater, China, Burma, and India, everything was going to Europe because the big stuff was in trying to get rid of Hitler. And after that war ended, then they did a lot of concentration on the Japanese. But this segment that I was into was to help the American with the Chinese defeat the Japanese. And
because Japan had been in China well before they even bombed Pearl Harbor, correct?
Definitely. Yeah, the Chinese been fighting the Japanese since 1937, way before the war.
Yeah.
See what I'm talking about? See, and whatever happened, the communists and Chiang Kai-shek, which was democratic, they were fighting with each other at the same particular time. But you know who came home, prevailed? It was the communists. They got the communist country now.
Yeah.
But at that particular time, I didn't understand them. I'm like 24 years. I said, man, why do the Chinese keep fighting one another? You fight the Japanese. They both fought the Japanese.
Yeah.
And then they start fighting each other. And I said, man, the war is over. Why are they fighting one another? But nobody explained that to me, that the communists were trying to take over from Chiang Kai-shek, which they did. They did that. And the funny thing about it also, when I left here in California, went all the way down to Australia. From Australia, we come up to Indian Ocean. From the Indian Ocean, we came into India. And when we left from India, we went to Pakistan. And Pakistan is where the Suez Canal is. But the Suez Canal, I didn't know too much about the Suez Canal. And Saudi Arabia was on one side, Egypt was on the other side, Israel's right in front over here. And here we're going up through the Red Sea during the biblical times, Red Sea, Bible, whatever. And I didn't know that. And as we were going up, and we got into the Suez Canal, when they bring the ship up and to level off with the Mediterranean Sea. Because going through across in the Red Sea, you're going across the desert. That's all desert, and desert on each side of it. That's short. And as we got into the Suez River, man-built, they built that levels with the Mediterranean, and the Mediterranean dumps into the Atlantic. And then we can hit the Atlantic and we come through New York. And we pass right across the Statue of Liberty. But here's another thing that really blew me out, man. I'll never forget as long as I live. When we came up there and went across past the Statue of Liberty, and we knew there's New York. And New York guys were looking at it, watching us, and we, this is amazing. And they said, okay, you guys can take a look now. You can see these tall buildings, Rockefeller Center and Chrysler Building, you name it. And we said, oh man, we've seen that before. I said, yeah, you see it in the movies, but you saw the real stuff. I had to look at it, man, and it blew me out. I'm like, wow. Then we went underneath the Hudson, Went to the Hudson, and then we went to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, which is right next door to New York. That's where everybody comes to. If you ever been in the service overseas, you come through there because they process when they're processing places. And next thing you know, we was on the plane. They took us on a train, and we come back and sent us back to where we come from.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that really blew me out, when I saw the ship, when our ship pulled in, there were Caucasians all over the dock waiting for these guys because they're coming back. The war's over. No blacks. No blacks, man. I said, man, I've been gone nearly 3 years. I have nobody to come here to treat. I couldn't find no black people.
Yeah.
I said, well, where'd they come from? I'm from Harlem or whatever they come from. They weren't there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I spent nearly 3 years overseas and fighting for this country, and I can't even see no black people. And it hurt me to the bone, really did. And I never forget it. I'm still talking about it now.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that, but that tenacity that you got to have, you got to keep on going. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep doing. Because if you're black, you got to be twice as good. You got to have it together. If you don't, and the main thing I'm talking about when I talk to young people, especially black guys, I said, man, you got to put it together. You got to do more than the average guy do. Like the white guy, you got to do more than him do, if you want to be good. And I was outstanding in a lot of things I did, but I still was always asking the question, why? And that would always get me. See, because they don't want to change the status quo.
Yeah.
Don't you come in here with some new idea. The slaves, when they got ready to say, don't teach them how to read. Don't teach them. See, I read just about everything. I read. My wife is tough. She did 10 hours a year. Don't bother her. You may get me look at television every night with something special. I'm not telling her. I said, because you don't program me. Television people program you. They want you to hear something, they cut it off. They want you to hear something, let it go. So you don't take my mind. You don't take my mind. I believe it. I said to think because I can think. I can function a little bit better. Oh yeah, I'll read your opinion. It's okay for your opinion. First Amendment says you got that. Okay, all right, you got it. I got mine too. So what I do, I try to educate Caucasians. I mean, I had some professors come through here, blew their mind, man. They sit on the edge of their seat and said, I never knew that. I said, well, you can't get out this side of the Times, you can't get out the Life magazine, you can't get out the Examiner paper, you can't get out the Times magazine, a newspaper, what have you. I said, because I lived it. I lived it. I lived it. And most people who were in the 90s, man, been gone.
Yeah.
And know nothing from nothing, zero. I mean, you can be an intellect, you can be whatever. And the thing about it is, I got the exposure to the point that I knew a few my relatives was associated with millionaires. Live in Malibu County. Been up there. One of the guys, my cousin was going with a guy, and he's a millionaire. And his place was in Malibu County. You can't get no higher than Malibu County. And over here at Hancock Park, I've been there. Hey, we'll be there up and down. So, and then I've been to Watts. You see what I'm talking about? And I know what, and the first thing I did, I took my daughter and I said, hey, you know, I want you to go. She's 5 years old. I said, come on, let's go down on 5th Street. I said, look down here. I said, I'm going to take those rose-colored glasses off you. See how the real world is. Then I took her up there in View Park, where all rich black people live up there, palatial homes and all that. And I exposed her to the top school. She went to Bellagio Road out there. She went to Uni High. They wanted to go. She was going to Beverly High. She didn't want to go to Beverly High. She wanted to go with her friends at Uni High. So the thing about it is, what we try to do, and hey, where you want to go? What part of the world you like to go? Hey, you can go. That's me. My wife. We've been everywhere. Different places. Been to Africa, been to Europe, been whatever. Asia, the whole bit. New York, hey, what have you. Washington, D.C., been to the Caribbean, the whole bit. So it gave a great view of what to expect in this particular world, and the bottom stuff also.
Yeah.
So, and I said, like I said, I come from across the track. That's where I live. Across the track, that's the bottom of the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is that exposure that we were trying to give to our kids and family that works up because I told her, I says, you know, I want you to keep on going. And my grandson, the same type of thing. So it's kind of paid off a little bit, and they're still moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's a lot of things up. What dollars mean to me at 92 years old, go 95 years old?
Yeah.
A car, new car, a new house, new furniture. I've been there. You see them tell them, if I got my health and strength, and I can sit up like I'm talking to you and in my right mind, it's like a quote was saying, I remember it's in the newspaper. Have you heard of John Wayne, the movie star, years ago, the cowboy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Multimillionaire. He was out to LAX. This is a copy I saw in the paper a few years ago. And there was this porter, black guy, was taking his luggage.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, you're Miss John Wayne. And he said, yeah, I'm Wayne. He says, I wish I just had the money that you got. And John Wayne looked at him and said, I wish I had my health like you got.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about it, we were just out to Newport News. We went on a cruise out there with our family. These guys with these multi-million-dollar houses, these yachts out there, another world.
Yeah.
And I just go and I smiled to myself. Look at this. This is how these people are living. And I fought with these same people. So I see, you know, trying to get a balance, That's all you're trying to do is balance out. Because if you live long enough, you'll get old. It's coming, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's waiting on you. The aches and pains, they're coming. All you got to do is keep on living. And by being to the point that without an education, you out of here. You gotta have it. I was just talking to my daughter the other day about Common Core, with the schools that they're going into now. We were discussing it the other day, like yesterday it was.
The mathematics.
And mathematics and science and whatever, huh? That's where we go? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, well, if I guess we talked about you coming home from the war. Can we touch a little bit about the civil rights movement? And you remember
the civil rights music? Well, to tell you the truth, I wasn't involved in the civil rights movement too much because I worked with the government.
Mm-hmm.
When I first come out to serve, but when I started working, the government put a lot of restrictions on you. You can't sit up and do this, and you can't sit up there and you work for the government too.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you quick in a minute, hey man, if you do, we'll fire you. And I was working for the post office.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like subtle. I would donate money to different organizations, NAACP or whatever, Congress and whatever. But I wasn't like with the Black Panthers and none of those guys. But I read about them because I would read. And I got that quote from George H. Bush. Mm-hmm. That's the father of George W. Bush, the president. And he said, read. And that's what I do. I read a lot. I read, man, I got to read. I want to know. But I try to work with young people. That's what I try to do. Every organization used to try to get me to get into the organization. I don't think the Black Panthers did. I didn't hear anything from them, but I've heard from Farrakhan. They thought I was a Muslim because I had the bald head and the neat and all that stuff and kind of halfway smart. So they wanted me to be in the organization. And then the Buddhists, they came in. They wanted me to be with their organization. And all these different type of organizations come to my house. And I mean, in person, not through their letters. And I said, no, I'm not into that. They said, well, you know, you're a good worker, and we've heard about it. But you know who really had everything on me? Google's. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
How did we earn it? My grandson got a degree in news media.
Mm-hmm.
He went back in Atlanta. And he said, "Oh, let me bring you up on Google, see what they got on you." They popped my name on there. Man, they had a list that long of stuff that I did. Even in Starbury.
Crazy.
He had all that. So let me say you that. They got it all. They got the whole bit. Now, when I got out to service, I worked for my grandson, my son-in-law, rather, which is his kid's father. And when I started working for him, they work with LAPD, they work for the lawyers and doctors and what have you. And I learned so much from that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw all this information that they had down, and I said, my goodness, even to you when you were a kid, they got it. Got it. Got it. I'm reading it. I'm looking at it like with my mouth wide open. I said, hey, you were born, da-da-da-da, stuff that I give you. You went to service, da-da-da. I'm looking at all this on the internet. Googles. My grandson brought this up. Popped it. And I'm like, is that me?
It's crazy.
They got you, man. It's amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
And then again, after going downtown stuff, my grandson, he's something like 350 pounds. He's got a lot of medical problems now.
Mm-hmm.
And he would work with lawyers, and you get the information for lawyers, and they go to court with him. He said, we're going down to the planning department, and said, I got some stuff I want to pick up on. I said, okay. So we went into the planning department down here at City Hall, paid something like $5 to get the information. And this particular house, they wanted to know everything. This lawyer wanted to know everything about this house. Mm-hmm. They had even the plumbing down to it, man. Everything at this particular. We're looking at the blueprints right here.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, this whole block, all the houses we have that we were investigating.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I said, man, they got you. They know who you are. They know who you are. And then my wife worked with City Hall with Mayor Bradley. Bradley's a black guy. He was been there for 12 years. He's dead now. And underneath the streets here is another city on a city that takes care of all the things that goes on, municipal thing, City of Los Angeles. I've never been in there. She's been in there. Communications, the whole bit. So if chances are they have a bomb or what have you, bomb the city, they got all this information down here underneath.
They got it all safe and stored.
Yes, indeed. Whole bit. Wow. Now, right over here at the post office,
Mm-hmm.
the terminal is not there anymore. That's where I worked out of years. They got a citadel. The citadel is right behind Union Station. At the citadel, now how did I know about the citadel? We had a case that we went in. I wanted to get some information from these people. Now this is the federal government's got the citadel. At the citadel, they had all kind of heavy equipment. All kind of stuff. That's just in case anybody start going to this country and start to take over. Now,
Wow.
I'm like, look at this stuff. Look at this stuff. And it's amazing. Uncle Sam's ready.
I believe it.
Don't play no games with Uncle Sam. They ready, man.
I believe it.
That's real. Go ahead.
I think we're pretty close to the end. One thing I always sort of end these with question is, if there's any advice that you give current and future generations, kids of today.
Sure. I was hoping you asked me that question. Here's the thing. Gut feeling. When you're with minorities, any minority, especially black minorities, which I know more about that now, be like the Canadians. Be like the Canadians? The white Canadians? Yeah. I've been to Canada. They do nothing special for you. They don't go to the point of, oh, he's black, we'll give him a little bit more courtesy, we'll do this for him, or we won't do this for him. Just treat me like another Canadian. Mm-hmm. Don't come in with the, oh, I have a friend that is black, and so on. So to give you an example, when I was picked to go to Sarah Sinise in New Orleans, you're familiar with Gary Sinise, aren't you?
Yeah, I went on that trip this past April with.
Yeah,
with,
right.
Yeah,
it was fabulous. Yeah. At the second affair that I went to Washington D.C. The last one I went.
Yeah.
One of the ladies who helped put this together out of Orange County, she said, "Did you meet Mr. So and So?" I said, "Who is he?" "He's a black guy." I said, "Is there a reason why I should have met him?" Because we were the only two black people there. I said, "You know, that's a stereotype thing, a question you asked me. Would you ask this Caucasian guy with the same thing? Did you meet him?" Don't do the stereotype thing. First of all, it tells you that, why would you ask that question to me? What did I need that?
Right.
Because he's black? Don't make no difference to me. Like I said, my wife, when she was 10 years younger, she was very fair-skinned. She looked like a Caucasian. Here in L.A., when we tried to get married and get a place to stay, I went in there, they wouldn't rent to me. 57. So I said, I said, my wife, they rented to her when we got to the place. So it's about the color of your skin.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when you around minority, don't use the stereotype thing. I know him, and oh yeah, I interviewed a guy's name is Espree. So they don't need that.
Right.
His name is Espree, and that's all he is. Until it's like my daughter said when she was going to one of the elementary schools over there, and she said she was talking about her friend, and my wife asked her, says, "What nationality is it?" She said, "What difference does it make?" And we said, she looked out, I said, "You asked a stupid question." She's going to give you a good. And my wife never asked her again. She said, "Why you ask me that?" Mm-hmm. He was a friend of mine. Yeah. He happened to be, he was Italian. But so you stay away from the stereotype thing and do the normal thing, just like if it's the same nationality you are. But other than that, if you want to know about something, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, tell me this or tell me that. So like I tell my kids, I said, "Hey, use this. Think. If you do something wrong, there's always a consequence behind it. I don't care. You don't have the status quo thing. It's a consequence coming. If you can handle that consequence, go ahead and do it. But who wants to handle the consequences? If you know right from wrong, it'll keep you out of a lot of trouble. If you know what you need and what you want, you know you'll stay out of a lot of trouble. But most of the people tell me, "I want." They don't say about what I need, young people. But if you decide that all you can do is what you do today and don't know what's going on tomorrow, you got a problem. Mm-hmm. If you spend all your money in one place and you need an emergency come up, you got a problem. There's a consequence coming to that. So these are the things at the age of you and BJ and my other grandson, he's 32 years old, and my granddaughter, she's 27. So these are young people. Mm-hmm. And I say to them, if you can't think no further than your nose, you're in trouble. Because life will change on you. All you're trying to do is to keep a balance, especially with your health. Because your pound is going to go off balance like this here. And all you're trying to do is to level it to keep it like this. Metabolism is going to change. When you get 35 and 40, the changes start coming, your body starts coming, different things start changing. Well, you got to do something to counteract that change. Because you can't stop it. You can't stop it. So those are the things that you want to be able to, and like I said, I can remember some of the things I said in the post office. Guys would quote me from word to word. I said, that's 25 years ago. Mr. Espree, you said it. I said, yeah. And my daughter does it all the time. She said, Dad, I remember when you told me this, quote unquote. I said, okay. Because I don't waste a lot of time talking a lot of BS. It does absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It does nothing for you. It does nothing for the future. And all you do is, people, if they like that, okay, so what? But you have to take care, number one, uno. If you can't take care of yourself, you're in bad trouble.
Yeah.
It's like I said, when I got ready to retire, the first thing I went, and I said, I want spousal support for my wife. I said, okay, Espree, you want that? The X amount of dollars will come out of your check every month. I said, yes, I want that. I said, okay. So I said, if I die before my wife died before I do I get all that money that I put up for self? It's insurance policy. You get absolutely nothing. It's federal government. But you see, everybody lives just for the day and they don't care nothing about tomorrow.
Yeah.
You got to have something for tomorrow. And the thing about it is, don't let materialistic things get in your way. Cars, clothes. Well, it's nice to have nice stuff, but the jewelry, it's nice to have. But don't go far out that you can't pay your rent or you can't do the essentials that you have to do. Mm-hmm. And you know what I said to young people? I said, I've been there, man. I was 27 years at one time. I was 30 years at one time. I was 40 years at one time. I was 50 years. I was 60 years. I must know something because I'm still here. Yeah. It's real. I said, I don't read no damn newspaper to tell me how to live. You know what my doctor tells me when he comes in there? He goes and brings out the doctor. He said, look at this guy's skin. This guy's 92 years old gone. And he said, what can I tell you? The good Lord said 70. That's 70 years old. Man, I'm on velvet, man. If I'm out here tomorrow, I done got mine in. The average guy ain't living to be 70 years old now. He's getting out of here early. What to do? Because they don't take care of the body. Oh, so I believe, now this is what I don't do too much with supplements. He does supplements all the time with different things, whatever. And he reads the labels off to him. He reads the label. Yes, I take pills, some of them. But 9/10 of my life, I never use supplements. But here's the thing that I believe in wholeheartedly today. Exercise. 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 I still exercise in the morning. I still exercise before I go to bed at night. Every day. To get the firmness going. To get the blood flowing. It's a ritual with me. A ritual with me. And then next thing I go to the bathroom. After the bathroom, I do that little, but I don't do no more than 5 minutes. 6 minutes. I don't always train it. And one thing you must watch, stay away from the pride thing. See, when guys get older, they don't want to wear to take the cane with them. They fall down the steps. All our bed was upstairs. Mm-hmm. And there's not too many people in being 90s going upstairs to the bedroom every day. So the exercise is, I think, is one of the most. They got an article in the Los Angeles, the Times magazine about exercise. It's on the cover this week, and I adhere to everything they had put on there, which is good. I said they say it's better than medicine and all that. And a lot of people, who can't take exercise but can do the finger thing or what have you, something like that. So to me. I'm not a television, like I said, I'm not a television program. I very seldom look at television. I'll see a game, like I look at the Alabama game, and the UCLA game, those things, not even, but you got to be a special. But you have to use this and you got to keep it going. Because if you don't, you lose it. You lose it. Some of the toughest, smartest people going here, and that we our friends, doctors, lawyers, you name them, that our friend, man, they went in their Alzheimer's, and the first thing you know, they out of here. They gone. So I can't what's going to happen in the next 5 years, or 2 years, or 3 years, or 1 year, or whatever. I said to this, I do as much as I can now. And one thing I believe in, helping someone else. Like I tell this guy, so you see somebody in the bank, and you see them fumbling over there, can barely write a check. I go over there and help them out. Say, can I help you? Or you see some old lady trying to put her groceries in the car. Go over there and say, can I help you? Or push your groceries in. That's all you have to do. And if you do that, helping somebody, doing something for somebody, you don't spend a whole lot of money. I donated a lot of money, different here and different there. But basically, I believe in getting the mind together. And that's where I'm coming from. But here's another thing. Now, another key. Young people keep you young. Old people's complaining about aches and pains. And they can't do this and they can't do that. So 9/10 of our people that we run around with, although we got the clubs, are young people. So when they come in with their young ideas and what have you, and the stuff that I have that I knew years ago and what I had in there now and what I'm doing and what have you, it kind of works out.
Yeah.
Because they, young people, 9/10 of stuff they don't even know up from down. All they know is about pushing the button, pushing the button. What happened to guys like me? Never did push the button. Didn't have no button to push. But we survived. So when I go to these lectures, and my granddaughter, she said, Daddy, tell them about how your life, how you live. It's okay to tell them about World War II, but tell them how you live. So I incorporate that in when I get ready to talk about World War II, and they ask me and then I incorporate how to live. And I did pretty well on it. But I went to, what really blew me out completely. See that cover that you got with the little girl breaking that line?
Yeah.
I use that all the time. Because I never had that happen to me before. I've been in a lot of places, talking or whatever. I went to the post office. The guys retired. These guys were maybe 10 years younger than I was. They're in their 80s and early 70s. All those guys was in management. They went up to management. They were truck drivers for the post office. So they met, and they wanted me to talk, and I didn't know I was going to be the talker. I just thought it was another guy, went to retired from the post office. I got there, and it's the Esprees here. And each one of them, was about 15 of them, these old guys, they told me about the life they had with me, of training when they first come into boat school. I was their instructor. And they said, yeah, we thought you was a sergeant, we thought you was with the Marine Corps and all that stuff. She said, but you helped us through life. And we all moved up. We all retired from the post office. Well, they would be over there cussing and going, and I come by, they stopped cussing. They like to drink, I didn't drink. They like to do just about everything. And they changed their lives. And when I got there, man, it just blew me completely away. One guy says, I heard, this is what said to me. I only heard it twice in my life. And this is what he said to me. You're a real man. This is a real man. To the point that he didn't take no mess. Because if you come to my class and you come late, I lock the door. You don't come in. And I said, you come down here for a reason. They sent you down here. I had to sign your license, da-da-da-da. And I'm not even signing that you come down here. And you won't get paid. Those are the type of things that was. And when I got ready to finish the class, I would go. I wouldn't talk around her. And then a lot of the females, they would say, you know, we take our lunch hour and we just want to talk with you. I said, okay. And it worked out pretty good. So when they gave me all this, and each one confessed about the things that they had encountered with me, and I kind of smiled to myself. I said, well, when I get out of Dodge, at least I have these guys can remember some of the things I did. And that's where it is. And like my daughter said, Daddy, I can quote you just about everything you said to me. And it worked. So these, and you won't forget what I'm saying either. You'll hold on to it. But you did, because you contacted me again here. So the thing about, and I talked about you also when I come back. I said, there was a little guy, he was almost taking pictures of me, man, and I couldn't understand why. And asked me questions, and I laughed about it. And I said, and you know what? He's coming by and we're going to do an interview with me. And they said, what? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, he was there. And I said, you know, at the age of coming with the birthday of 95, and I don't know nobody that's the same age I am, because they're all gone. And it said, well, the good Lord left me here for some reason. He left me here for some reason. What are you doing? Are you helping somebody? Or are you just running off the mile? So I ain't no time to run off the mile. It's my life, man.
Yeah.
So like I say, how many more guys do you meet this 95 years old? You won't. They're gone. They're dead. And if they do, they're slobbering at the mouth and they're shaking all over you. You don't even understand what they're saying. They don't understand what you're saying. So that is what we're all about. And it's amazing. But here's the thing you want to remember. Always try to help somebody else, no matter what it is. Give them a hand, because you got a few things that they don't know, and they got a few things that you don't know. So you incorporate them together, and man, something might good come out of it.
Yeah.
That makes sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's where I am today, and the Sinise thing, I thought it was just beautiful. I just thought, just blew me out.
Yeah.
Because I've been around a lot of places, I've been in a lot of, that was top of the line though.
You enjoyed the museum and everything?
Oh, definitely. And the thing about it, the chorus were there. You know what he said to me? He said, when I came up there, and he must have heard that was from overseas, he asked me, would you give the talk here? And I gave the talk. Because people standing around. He said, how was the accuracy on the maps and stuff? I said, you guys did a good job. You had 98%. It was good. Because I could follow the different little towns and what have you. We went through, the Americans went through with the Chinese and what have you, until we got into Kaming. And they had the maps and all like that. The equipment was excellent they had out there on that lawn. That was good stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff that was fake stuff, wasn't real. Yeah. But I knew real stuff when I saw it, and it kind of brought tears to my eyes. In one place I saw a piece of equipment that I used to drive all the time, the same type of equipment, the canvas top and what have you, combat stuff. And I'm like, wow, man, this guy, they got the right stuff here. And it stuck with me. But the thing about it is that when I went through this last thing up to Washington, D.C., that was like Motel 6 to me compared to Sinise thing. You know, it was okay, but I said it worked out pretty good. But I was so surprised because it come out of Orange County, that honor flight did.
Yeah.
And I said, Orange County, when I read the letter, because we had to do some paperwork on it, you know.
Yeah.
And my wife and I and my daughter were smart. She said, Orange County? I said, yeah, this is Orange County. I can remember when I was a kid, I couldn't go into Orange County. I was so prejudiced down there. So when I looked at it, I smiled. I said, now, let me tell you a little bit about New Orleans. In 1958, that's when 53, it was before I got married. Segregation was running rampant down south. So I had a friend who was in the Air Corps at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. He'd come down and visit him. I said, I come down and visit you. You don't like the South too well. I said, I'll come anywhere. So I got me a plane. No, I mean I got the railroad. And Southern Pacific there. Had a pocket full of money. I was working with the transfer line. And I got me a car seat. And I got on the Southern Pacific line that runs all the way to New Orleans. New Orleans to turn around and come back. They don't do that now. It keeps on going all go south.
Mm-hmm.
On my ticket it said, you can get a cab or you can catch the bus to go to the Southern airline that keeps the trains that goes further out. That's the transfer point. I tell the story. So most people, they said black people, they bring the food with them because it was prejudice all the time. But not out here in California. You could eat in the dining room and do what you want in California. When you hit El Paso right next to Arizona, Texas, they had a layover. And they said, well, we'll be here about another hour, and you can go to the restaurant and get you some food or whatever you want to do, which is okay. I went into this restaurant in El Paso, which is a little dinky place with hardwood floors and calico deal on tablecloth and third class, at least I would say, with them. And this Caucasian woman, she looked at me with her eyes all stretched. She says, you can't keep coming here. I said, what do you mean I can't come in here? She said, you got to go around to the back. She said, there's a little window back there and we'll serve you and you get anything you want. I said, no, I don't need that. See, I'm from California. I had that locked in with it. But I knew it. But I didn't stop to think. I said, no, I don't need that. So I went back on the train and said, now I got a pocket full of money. So the train starts up and takes off. We go from Texas. When we got to Texas, we got next to Louisiana. And Louisiana, I'm a bus driver at this particular city of LA. Well, bus drivers, they got something in common, man. You tell your route, what do you do, da. And it's a Caucasian guy. And I sit up in the front. This guy kept looking at the mirror and kept looking and finally he did this. I know what that meant. That's that handbrake he pulls up. Walks over slowly to me. He said, you are, and goes to the back of the bus. I said, okay. So I went to the back of the bus. But prior to that, when I got off the train, I went to get a yellow cab because my ticket said it was all paid in for a yellow cab to go. And there's a black guy run up to me. He said, you can't get in a yellow cab, do you? This is 53. He said, you can ride with me. I'm in the bed. They had different colors. I said, no, I don't need that. So that's how I got the bus. Well, when I got to the bus, when I had that little encounter, then I went into the segregated waiting room because I didn't look at the sign. Everybody was Caucasian in there. And they just looked, they didn't say anything to me. And all of a sudden I looked up and I saw the name, white. So I just moved over right where it said color. And I said, and I thought about it. I'm waiting. So when I got ready to go to catch the Southern line to go further out, I told the Pullman porter, she was black. I said, he said, hold it, son. I know exactly what car you in. The black people got out. That's right next to that engine with all that steam and soot and whatever. And right behind it, that's your car, 22. And I smiled. I said, yeah, it's 22. He said, this is your first time going down south? I said, yeah, I was born here, but first time I've been down since I've been grown. He said, okay. He laughed. He said, where you headed for? I said, I'm going to South Carolina, Sumter, South Carolina. Right close to Columbia, South Carolina, which is the capital. So I got on there, and I got to Sumter. Sumter's a little small town. And there was a black guy, had a brand new Cadillac out there, convertible, top down, Palm Beach suit on, Palm Beach hat, stick pin, gold in his tie, and what have you. And he was sitting right where we get off at. And he said, hey, hi. I said, hi. Is you from Los Angeles? I said, yeah. He says, well, let me tell you this. I'm the head nigger here. I said, you are? He said, yeah. I said, I run this little town. And he said, you're going to have some place to stay, right? I said, yeah. You got to have some place to eat? I said, yeah. He said, and you might want a little cold ice because it's hot. So if you spend 5 cents here, I would get at least 2 cents of it. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. He said, where you want to stay? He told me a place, and I was digging in my pocket because I had. And I kind of laughed. He said, I've been to L.A. a few times. This is 1953. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. He said, but I make my money down here. Like guys offer like you. I said, okay. So when I got there, and I had this little small apartment, it was a black area with black people, and they were looking out the window at me. You know, I'm like, what the hell is this about? You know, black on black and black. I thought everything was fine. Yeah. So my friend comes and said, man, I told you south of something else. I said, yeah, I can see that. So he'd left, and I knocked on the door of the next neighbor because they had one of these butane tanks that light up the stove, and I didn't know what you had to push the air in it. We had gas out here. You had the butane. And they wouldn't answer the door. When you talking, these are black people. So when I told my friend, I said, man, what's with these black people? They don't do. They say, you foreigner. They don't like foreigner. I don't care if you're black, whatever. I said, yeah, I see that. So she said, I told you wouldn't like the South. So she said, we're going down to the restaurant, a little hole in the wall. And I can already remember they had one light hanging down like this, dark in there. And the waiter came up to me and said, what'd you like to have? And I, with my dumb self, I said, where's the menu? She said, what's that? And my friend said, he's talking about what is your food, what you guys got? And she just rattled it off what she had. Yeah. And she said, they don't have menus down here where we are. I said, oh, okay. So the next place we went to is going to go to a dance. They had a big barn at the back, I remember it well, way in the back of nearly was a vacant lot, and there's this barn back there. That's where they had to dance. A lot of little country black girls and guys. And they mean being from the city, they figured out, I knew everybody in Hollywood. And they said, you know something? I said, man, I don't know them rich people, them rich white black people. I don't live nowhere with. They talking about Sammy Davis and they talking about Lena Horner. I said, I don't know none of them. I said, I see them like you see them. Mm-hmm. He said, but you live in Los Angeles. I said, no, I'm not. I live in a black area. They found that real nice. So I decided that the next following day, I'd go to Columbia and walk down to Columbia because it was close right to Sumter and see what the cities are like. Now this is prejudice as prejudice can get out. So I put on a white button-down shirt, put on a tie, had some nice slacks, and some nice shoes, loafers, and some dark glasses, and had one of those little caps on. I was decked, man. Everything was tailored. So as I walked down the street and I saw this little hot dog stand, portable. And there was a young white guy there. I said, hey man, I said, you guys feed colored people here? He laughed, he said, yeah, ain't no problem here. All he did was, they had hamburgers and hot dogs and a cold drink. He said, what'd you like to have? I said, well, I'd like to have a hot dog. I told him what I want, no onions. And I'd like to have a Coke to go with that. He said, okay, no problem. He went to fix it. He said, where you from? He knew I wasn't from there. I said, I'm from Los Angeles. Oh, yeah. I said, I know you wasn't from here. He says, are you a musician? I said, no, I'm not a musician. I didn't tell him what I was. And he said, okay. So after you got through fixing it, I went to start eating a hamburger and drinking a Coke. He said, you can't eat it here. I said, can't eat it here? I looked around like that. I said, we're already out. He said, you got to take it walking. I said, you got to take it out. That's what he said. You take it. I said, we're already out. We ain't in no building. He laughed, and I laughed. He said, well, you just have to walk with it. I'm like, man, I got a pocket full of money, and this guy's telling me I got to walk with this food, and I got to eat. I said, okay. So I walked down. I see two black guys in the downtown area, and they were hawking people shining their shoes right on the sidewalk. So I wanted my shoes shine, so I walked over there, and there was the stand right there. And I got up on the stand. The black guy said, man, no, you can't get up on the stand. I said, this way you shine the shoes on. He said, yeah, but you go around the back, behind the curtain, and there we'll shine your shoes. I said, no. I said, no, I'd rather my shoes stay dusty. And I did, and I left. But the incident that happened about after I left Texas and went into New Orleans, I always remember that going from New Orleans into Mississippi, Mississippi was there, that I went into the dining room. When I went into the dining room, I was sitting there with Lennon, little roses and I'm under the window, right by the window, looking out. There's a black guy came up there. He was a waiter. He said, you can't sit there. I said, what do you mean I can't sit there? At first I didn't answer him, I just looked at him. He said, I said, you can't sit there. I said, well, I'm sitting there. So he goes back and gets the steward. The steward is the white guy. The steward's the head that over him. Mm-hmm. He said, you can't stay here. You can't eat here. I said, why not? He says, we don't cater to black people. He said, but what you can do is go in that vestibule. The vestibule is in between two planes. You know what the vestibule is? Little place in there. He said, well, you go in there and we'll serve you in there and we'll pull the shade down and we'll feed you from that point on. I said, no. Man, I got a pocket full of money and no place to eat. So I didn't eat. Then after that, the incident I told you about when I got to South Carolina. Now I go back to New Orleans, the Sinise thing. They give me the town, man. You know what you know. The police department had the lights on. They sent me up at that beautiful hotel, the whole bit. And when I got on that tour bus, I sat in the same part of the bus like I did when I was with the secretary and sent me back, but I sit in the front again. And my daughter was with me, and she said, Daddy, why did you sit in this seat? I said, I remember when I was here in 1953, and the bus driver told me in the back. Now I'm sitting in the same seat again, and here they give me the town. So it was amazing. It just brought back different tears to my eyes. How all these different things that happened to me, you know, like the Sinise thing and Washington D.C. thing, the Patriot Outhard thing, and what have you. And all this rolled over my mind, and I was thinking. I said, "Wow." Here I was in the back of the bus. Now they got a jet for me to pick up, and they got this, they got that, and what have you. And I said, well, I was a little off. I was off balance, really, to tell you. And I don't get off balance too often. I'm pretty sharp. I stay on top of things, man. and I research a lot of stuff. You can't just sit up and talk to me. And if I do, I say, well, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out. That's my favorite word. And she said, I used to tell classrooms all the time, check it out. Check it out. Don't go with that. If it's real, check it out and you find out if it's real.
Yeah.
I said, it's like Colin Powell said, I don't know if it'll work for you, but it'll work for me. Mm-hmm. And so I smiled to myself and I said, here it is that all these things that happened to me, that think of all the black guys that never had anything close to what I've had.
Yeah.
I said, you guys have never interviewed me. Were you in the service? Yeah, I was in the service. What did you do when you were in the service? You're just a plain guy in the blood? That's all. So those are things that stayed with me. And it was just amazing. And with the point about a lot of the professors that came over here, they just shake their head. And boy, they're putting all that stuff down. They're writing it, they video, and they're doing a whole bit. And this guy who was a full-fledged colonel in the Army, mm-hmm. When I went on this last trip, he was the one who was supposed to be working with me. He said, I really don't have to help you because you're sharp on everything you do. And he was helping everybody. He's retired. And he wrote my book. And so I said, well, don't do the stereotype thing on me. He said, what is the stereotype thing? I said, because I'm black, you're doing this. Because you're black, you're doing that. And I know I said, don't get into that. And he smiled. I said, because you put a couple of stereotype things on me. And I remember because I've heard it 1,000 times. Oh, I said, where do you live? He said, I live in Orange County. I said, how many black people live in your neighborhood? He's trying to think. I think one. I said, you don't know about black people, do you? He said, well, I have one black friend. I said, oh, come on, man. You don't know about black people. And he laughed. And I said, now, if you listen to me, you'll get a chance to learn a lot of things that what goes on. But don't say I like black people. I wouldn't give a damn if you like me or not. Treat me just as a human being. That's all I had. And we had a little ups and downs while we were on that trip, but other than that, we worked out pretty good. And that was some of the things. And so I said, the thing about it is, just in my family alone, I said, my wife could go in places in California I couldn't go. He said, what? I said, yeah. She went to one of the big top stores, which was Bullock stores at the particular time, on 7th Broadway. Mm-hmm. Number 1 Uno. They had a salon up there for women to do their hair and whatever. And my wife went up there and they did her hair. And she sent her sister up there because she liked the way it was done. My sister, her sister about a shade darker than she was. Mm-hmm. She said, we don't do black people's hair. He said, and my sister was up here the other day. So my wife went up there, just before we got married. My wife went up there and she got on their case and said, what do you mean you wouldn't do my daddy, my sister? That's my sister. You just got to doing mine a couple of days ago. Yeah. That's off balance, you know what I'm saying. So I see these are the little small things that happen people never know, they never mention, what have you. And the reason why most black guys, veterans, don't talk about it because they caught so much HELL and things that were done to them that they couldn't understand why. And they don't want to talk about it. I'm only very unusual about the things that I say about it. I said, yeah, I don't know. And it kept me right on the edge of what's going on to the point that he said, I didn't know that. I didn't know this. I didn't know. I said, well, you didn't get with the right people. So I tell him, I said, you got the green light with me. Whatever you want to ask, go ahead and ask me. There ain't no such thing. Well, I'll just tell you this. Go any area you want to go into, I can go into it, man. Mm-hmm. I've been here a while. I know something. And I've been with the rich, I've been with the poor, I've been with the sub-poor. Hey, the whole bit, doctors, lawyers. I've been in their company at their homes, drinking tea with them, what have you. Rich white people, rich black people, poor black people, poor myself, what have you. Lost lived across the track and whatever. So I got a good idea just about what life is about, and it makes it pretty good. And now I try to do as much as I can. Talk to guys like you.
Well, I appreciate you.
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's real. Because there's so much phoniness is going on nowadays. No real stuff. Everybody wants to, hey. So when they come by here, and I'm talking about youngsters that really made it, who did a few things, and a few of them didn't do things well. Guys in the alley there, man, black guys, man, young guys, 21 years, 20 years. I said, man, what are you doing in this alley? On drugs, drinking. And I come over, come here, I'm clean you up a little bit and give you some, I know you like jeans and you like t-shirts. I give him that and sit down and talk. And this guy talks a very intelligent, he just, to me, but he just in the streets, he's just a homeless guy. He's one of them type of that. But he comes in and he talks to me, and he comes in, he sees me out there. He says, Mr. Espree, let me talk to you. I said, okay, call me Elmo. He said, hey, Elmo. Okay. And we talk about, and the thing about him, when he started getting stupid, do some crazy stuff, I said, no, I'm finished. Come back another time, okay? He said, you don't like the foolishness. And I said, no, I don't like the foolishness. He said, you're too sincere about things, Espree. I said, well, what can I say, man? I said, we're at the bottom of the totem pole. We got to get out from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get away from the bottom. And my mother works with disabled kids and what have you. So we're into helping people all the time. That's what we're about. That's what I'm about. Go ahead, you got some pretty good stuff there.
Yeah, that's those.
You get just about what you want?
That's just about it. Yeah. Now you mentioned you had the medals and whatnot.
Yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pause this real quick.